My 32F boyfriend, 31M, is super mean to his cat and I'm reconsidering children with him. We've been in a relationship for 3+ years now. He moved to his own apartment with the family cat about a year ago, and since then it's always been kind of a red flag to me how poorly he treats the poor cat. He's always saying he wants to get rid of him and, jokingly, offers any guest he's having to take the cat with them if they want to. It's always expressed as a joke although he means it. I would take the cat gladly but I can't have pets in my apartment. But when confronted about it he doesn't want to go through the adoption process because he doesn't have time or other poor excuses. Being able to buy better stuff, he feeds him cheap cat food which makes his belly bloated and stiff. He didn't care when I pointed this out though. One time the cat had caught a bad flea infection and as it's a senior cat some places were hard to reach for him, leaving him with a desperate urge to scratch and also scabs and injuries from scratching where he was able to reach. He only showed some worry when I pointed it out, otherwise I think he wouldn't have cared. A pretty long pair of weeks after that he bought the cat a flea collar and he started to get better, but only Beckowie I kept insisting. But the situation that made me think of this from kind of a red flag to a big loud red siren that is making me reconsider things is the fact that he went on a 3-day trip with his family and left the cat alone in the apartment. Having friends and a girlfriend who would gladly go and feed the cat, clean his litter box, play with him and keep him company, he just chose to leave him there alone. He left enough food and water, programmed Alexa to do some things with the lights and say things to the cat, to feel less alone, and that's it. I get cats are independent and stuff, but I don't think it's okay at all. I expressed my worry to him and told him I'd gladly go once a day to take care of him but he refused. I told him he doesn't have a heart and he replied something like, "That's terrible isn't it?" Not really caring and closing all possible dialogue. I was left thinking that if he can't cover the basics of caring for a pet, what makes me think that he would be better with a child that puts your patience, compromise, care and everything under pressure incalculably more than a pet. I want to know if I'm making a mountain out of a molehill or if you see what I see. Any comments are welcome. Thank you for reading less than 3. My dad was a homicide detective for 2 decades and he always said, if a person could be cruel to an animal, they could easily be cruel to a person. I tend to agree. I'd be removing myself from that situation. If ever there were a moment to hear the cliché, the first time someone shows you who they are, believe them, this would be it. And #X200B. He doesn't care about a living creature, and he even thinks it's entertaining that he doesn't care. This guy is a classico marinara flago. No tolerance for people who mistreat cats. None. Cats have a reputation for being isolating, but that's because people mistreat them. You care for your cat, and you will get all the cuddles. This guy is trash. Break up with him and steal his cat. My 27M sister is upset that I am kicking out a single mom, 35F, out of my own home. My grandfather passed away 2 years ago and I inherited a house from him. At the time my grandfather was doing charity work and was renting the house to needy people. When his health deteriorated he told me he would be giving me the house and that he wanted me to use it how I saw fit. I told him I liked the place and I would eventually move there and he was content with the decision. This place is in a good neighborhood and the current tenant, a single mom, cannot afford such a place. I've been renting the house to them because I didn't move back. The going rate is $3.5K and I was charging $800. I was not profiting on this house at all. I had just enough to pay tax on the house. The tenancy agreement is coming to end early next year. The tenant wanted to re-sign and for a longer period. My girlfriend and I have been together for a couple of years and I'm about to propose, so I decided this was the perfect time to move. My tenant begged me not to kick her out because her children went to school here and it would be difficult to move. I sympathize with her but reiterated that I would be moving in and she would need to find other arrangements. My sister found out and she's calling me a monster and telling me that I'm abusing the power Grandpa gave us and that he would be ashamed of me. I'm now conflicted because she's been trying to convince me but I want to move in. Too long did not read. Sister is upset that I am kicking out a single mom. If sister feels so strongly she is welcome to help the single mother. You inherited a house, not a charity. If your sister doesn't understand that then she can invite the single mom to live with her. It's very sad but the single mom cannot afford the true cost of the house. Her payments might be covering the taxes, but none of the maintenance and upkeep. Your grandpa isn't around anymore to carry those costs. Unfortunately, it's time for her to move on, but she got a great deal for many years. No. Your sister should not judge, if she isn't willing to offer help in the first place. She can either host the family at her place, pay the difference at rent, or shut her mouth. Found texts between wife and an old ex. I, 34M. Found texts on my wife's, 35F, phone between her and an old ex from about 15 years ago. We've been married almost 7 years, been together 9. A few days ago she was showing me something in a text thread between her and work friends. When she clicked out, I saw a horny devil emoji in a text from an unsaved number. A couple days later I couldn't get it out of my head. She had gone to sleep early and I got into her phone to see what it was about. I found texts dating back to February until last week. Most of the thread was innocent enough small talk and whatnot. But repeatedly throughout the time he mails references to their sexual past. Hey, remember that time you were screaming so loud the cops were called because the neighbors thought someone was being murdered and I answered the door naked with only a towel over my junk? I never asked. Back when we first dated, did you wear your thong high and walk past me all the time so I'd notice? It was just my style, but I knew it was enjoyed so I never fixed it. Oh, it was definitely enjoyed and made it hard to focus. Is this still your style? Inappropriate question. This is the only time she really made any attempt to shut it down. Mostly she'd lead the conversation another direction when he'd hit on her. She didn't really engage him a lot, just shrugged it off. He was almost exclusively the first to make contact at each instance. At one point fairly recently he said they should hang out and she said she'd be down for that, but according to the thread at no point did they ever actually meet up. He's also married, so not only did he disrespect my marriage, he disrespected his own. I've never once in 10 years felt the need to look in my wife's phone, and the only time I do, I find this. I did confront her about it this evening. She said basically that it was so long ago that they dated and they were friends for so long that she didn't even really see him as an ex. I told her he obviously does because he comes on to you repeatedly, but you didn't think that was a problem enough to tell him it was inappropriate, or that if he's going to keep bringing up their past that she's going to cut off contact. She said they've always been like that and she didn't see as a problem at the time, but she understands why I see it this way. I told her she broke my trust and she said I broke hers by going through her phone, that she would have given it to me if I'd asked. Which may be true, but I don't feel like I'm the bad guy for being paranoid and being right. I love this woman. She didn't cheat, but she broke my trust. I don't know how to move forward because I'm not ready to give up on us, but I feel like it's only going downhill from here. You didn't have to know that. I felt uncomfortable reading that. If she's seeing him as a past without attachment, why does she still keeps in contact when he's definitely wanting a sexual talk down memory lane? It's inappropriate because they're both in a committed relationship. Red flag. Unsaved number going back to February. What your wife, and her ex, did was totally inappropriate. A friend doesn't talk sexually about you. Or seemingly pick out only the sexual memories you had rather than say, that one vacation you took to the mountains or whatever. And she's not telling him off or cutting him off, just deflecting weakly. It's not okay at all for her to do this. 21, F. My dad, 55 per meter, assaults me and I need help. This is going to be long, so please bear with me. As far back as I can remember, my dad and I have sat on the same side of the kitchen table. During dinner, he often likes to touch my upper inner thigh and stroke my arm repeatedly after being told no in a calm yet firm voice. He'll also take my long ponytail and use it to floss his teeth, which I find disgusting. I tried reporting this to my college's counseling center and they called my parents, who convinced them I was delusional, and so I was sent to a psych ward where I received a diagnosis of bipolar II. In order to get out I had to say that the abuse was made up and everything was fine. Now that I'm back home the abuse has started up again. My dad still does those things. To try and get him to stop, when I was a minor I had drawn a dividing line down the table. It worked for a while, but now he said since I'm 21 it's null. What should I do? My mom says he's just playing with me and told me that I'd ruin all of our lives if I report this. She's also a lawyer, so I'm sure that she's help him win his case. Time to move out permanently. Never go back. Please continue therapy. Move out as soon as possible. Cut all ties to your family. Never look back. It's time to move out. Until you can do that, cut your hair off. It will grow back, but it will frustrate the heck out of him. Sit on opposite sides of the table from him. If you have to sit on the same side, get a board or box to put between you. You still need to make plans to get out. Find trusted family members to stay with explaining what's going on, how scared you are, and need a place to stay until you can land on your feet. If you have friends, try them too. Close coworkers you can room with, whatever, just make an escape plan fast and talk with people in getting out of that house to get your stuff while they are gone and never look back. I'm so sorry your parents failed you and sick what he's doing. I wouldn't be surprised if he has child pornography.